Hey Amit, at the onset, you said your DP picture is 20 years old. I disagree with you. Your voice quite compliment your picture.
Okay, interesting. Thank you.
Right. So I have recently joined as a business analyst. It's been almost 4.5 years. I think I'll be joining a data migration project very soon. Is why I requested Shipra and the entire group, the Telegram group, to have a data migration session that I missed earlier. So many thanks for picking this up. I have many questions to ask Amit, but I'm not sure if these are going to be very fundamental, very basic questions.
Now, feel free.
I heard a little
Feel free
term.
to ask any question. There's nothing. Um, um, I think people think that certain questions may be silly, but they are not silly. They are important for that person who is willing to ask. So feel free to ask.
Very kind of you saying that, Amit. The first question is I heard and learned a few terms on data
Hmm.
migration. The first was data ring fencing and non-ring fencing. I'm not sure if want to you would know about these terms and would want to explain a little. Also, the second question is apart from data migration, which I understand the fundamentals, would you also want to explain a little on what data integration is and what are the dimensions, the dynamics of it? Yeah.
So, sorry,
So,
Shipra. Yeah.
yeah. So integration is a completely separate topic. Let me take that topic next week. Yeah.
That works. Thanks, Shikha.
Yeah.
So coming to data ring fencing, the term which you said, Jay. Honestly, in my experience, I have not heard that term. But if I use my common sense, and Shipra, correct me if I'm wrong. Um, Basically, what you do ring fencing is what you um you put a limit to certain things. Yeah. So in case of data also, what you do is you uh, apply a limit to something. For example, a set of data which is to be migrated. So you decide that set of data, and then it's final. You have ring fenced it. Fine. Uh, so my common sense is saying this, but I'm not too sure. I'm fully right here because I have not used that term in my experience so far.
No, that's all right, Amit. Thank
Yeah.
you for answering.
Yeah.
Would you also want to explain a little on data anonymization in case if you're working?
Yeah, it is. It is to be understood. Yes. Um, See, usually in certain geographies there are a certain personal data security rules. For example, UK, there was a term called GDPR. I don't remember its full form, but the objective was that the personal data, for example, name, address of such people, those who are part of database, should not be known to people beyond EU, European Union. Fine. So when that data analysis is happening in locations like India, personal information has to be anonymized. That means it has to be obfuscated, or for example, someone is seeing in India of an insured name or client name, it should be cross, cross, cross. They should not be able to say it. Got it? So,
Right,
so
right.
for data security, for personal information security, such kind of data is anonymized for certain geographies. So when that data goes to customer, they see in their UI it will be a proper name. But someone in India, if they are seeing that data, it will be cross, cross, cross. They'll not be able to understand who that person is because of data security reasons. So there are technical ways to handle that anonymization. Does it make sense?
That make complete sense.
Yeah.
Thanks, Amit. And from an ETL standpoint, uh, what is the role of a business analyst on the ETL execution? Yeah?
See, I think as Shipra mentioned, full form of ETL, extract, transformation, and load. So uh, at the time of extraction, uh, before doing that extraction, a role of BA comes. As I said, they need to assess the data and cleanse, support and cleansing of the data. Okay, so once assessments has happened, scope has been finalized, what all has to be extracted. Um, in that scope, what all cleansing is to be done has been done. Then extraction is done by techies, okay, through different technology ways. But before that extraction, role of BA comes in picture in assessing the data and cleansing the data. Fine. Then transformation comes in picture. In the transformation, BA, as I said earlier, they do data mapping, field to field mapping, okay, from source to target. They also do a transformation of data, interpretation of data as part of that mapping exercise. Okay, so once mapping has been completed, then techies create their scripts, migration scripts, or they use any other technology solution to make it a technical solution, and then to load the data to the target application. Got it? So in extraction and transformation, there is a key role of BAs as part of that process. Load happens by techies, and post load, then reconciliation uh, comes in picture. Review of data on the front end, providing support to client users to review the data. All those things are supported by BAs.
Sure. Thanks, Amit. One more question.
Yeah.
So, um, uh, while the data migration is happening, the front end works in a certain manner, right? When the source is the data, when the data is migrated, and when the target is the database, we would expect the front end to work the similar fashion as it was earlier,
Not
unless there
necessarily.
is a process
Yeah, not necessarily.
right, unless there is a process reengineering, or unless there is
Yeah.
a process. Mhm.
So, for example, legacy system may be quite a basic application. Okay. But when you are moving to a new application, you are moving to a new application because of certain value adds that new application will bring for you. Okay, so when you open the new application front end, then in the UI, whatever you migrated or transformed, it is visible to you. Then the processes or steps you need to take may be different than the legacy application. Okay, so data presence in the new application will be as is as like previous application, unless you have done some transformation there. But the behavior, UI, everything will be different, isn't it? Unless the migration is happening between like to like applications. For example, in my one of the recent projects, we are migrating data from one version of an application to another version of the same application. So we had to use the migration approach because of some technical constraints. But that is actually an upgrade, isn't it? From one version of product to another version. So it's technically not a migration, but we had to do a migration approach because of a technical constraint which we were facing. So in that case, difference is quite low in case of a new version of the same application. But when you are moving from it one application to altogether different application, then it's a different picture altogether in the new application.
Sure, thank you, Amit. One last question.
Yeah.
So, in a sense, reconciliation from an accounting standpoint. I mean, I have a definition of reconciliation, but when you said reconciliation earlier, it sounded more like a validation. So,
So
once the data.
reconciliation, yeah, reconciliation. If you purely relate with the bank reconciliation or accounting reconciliation, that is different. Okay. Um,
Right.
here reconciliation is matching the data.
Right. The validation. All right. All right. That answers. Thanks, Amit.
Yeah, that reconciliation of bank statements, that's a financial reconciliation. Financial reconciliation here also happen here wherever monetary values are involved, but not a typical bank reconciliation work which traditionally the term is used. Here it's matching of data between source and target application.
That makes complete sense. Thanks, Amit. Amit, could you give me one example of data cleansing, please?
Data, sorry.
Cleansing.
Okay, data cleansing. Okay, so let me quickly recall from any of my past experiences. Okay,
I can share one.
yeah, sure. Thank you, Shipra.
Yeah. What we did was we were migrating insured data or a person's data from one system to another system. So when we were doing that, we realized because our system allows you to create a name, right, while or create a party or create an insured while creating a new policy. So what used to happen was that let's say I'm one person. I'm creating a policy, and what I'll do is I'll say ABC, right? And it will create a ABC record in the system. Now tomorrow's I have another ABC has taken another policy from me. So instead of selecting from one of the values which are already available in the system, what people have done is they have said ABC co dot, right? Someone has said ABC corp. Someone has said ABC co dot without any space. Yeah. So same person's name or same company's name has multiple parties created within our one system. So when we were doing the data migration, we realized that we do not want all the thousands and thousands of record to be transferred over, because exactly they are the same, right? That time we carried out a data cleansing activity wherein we identified which people are the same based on their addresses, based on the email IDs, based on their contacts, and numerous other rules we checked out, right? And we created one single party for them in the new system. So that's how we cleansed data. So 10 records in one system, we clean it out, and we just transferred over one record in the other system. Is that a good example?
That's a very good example. Thank you so much, Shiva,
Yeah.
taking that from. One question to both of you, please. Any process reengineering or any suggestions, recommendations that you both must have given during the data migration project that added value to the project, please?
I think basics have to be right, Jay. Usually, a lot of jargons are used. People talk about a lot of jazzy things, but if BA does everything basic right, then it will be seamless. That is my thought. That if we are doing proper mapping, if we are doing quite a detailed transformation or review of source as well as target application, everything will be smooth. Nothing jazzy is to be done. Just remain detailed oriented. Make sure that the mapping exercise which you did was right. Um, reconciliation is right. So the critical role BA plays is mapping and reconciling. If we are doing that right, our job will be perfect there. There can be different reasons due to which migration project may not do well or fail, because 80% work is done by techies here. 20-25% work is of BAs. Fine. So at least we need to make sure that our mapping exercise and reconciliation process is right, and the scope is finalized at initial stage before doing the job, so that situation do not go haywire and it doesn't slip from BA's hand. Does it make sense? It did not answer your question exactly, but
No,
my simple submission is that basics have to be right. That's it.
And I couldn't agree more with you, Amit. I am completely with you. Thank you
Yeah,
for
very,
understanding.
very well said, Amit. Just one more point from my side is understand the business objectives, right? That's the key. So whenever you are working on any project, be it data migration project, be it process reengineering, be it integration, or be it any other change request implementation, new implementation, whatever. So any project, understand the business objective. Think from business users' point of view. What are they trying to do in the system? What do they want? If you get the hold of it, right, what we are trying to do, things become much easier, because then what is going to be right and what is going to be wrong. So that's my 2 cents.
Appreciate that. Thanks, Shikha.
Yeah, thanks, Jay, for asking those questions. I really wish that you were open up and ask those questions. But yeah, to everyone. Just one more point, which we touched upon a bit earlier in the call, was data protection, right? So I just wanted to add here that there are usually two ways in which the data is protected. One is encryption and other is obfuscation. So when we say encryption, what happens is that when my data is moved from one environment to another, there is an encryption key that changes my data into something else. So let's say my name is Shipra, but in the database, you will see it is A X Y Z hyphen G X I J hyphen MNO, something like this, right? So a big uh, garbled text that you will see in the system. But when you see it in the UI, you will see Shipra. So there is an encryption key and there is a decryption key. So encryption key will change my data, Shipra name, to some garbled text, and then the decryption key will change that back to the Shipra word when it is shown on the UI, and people with limited access will be able to see the UI, right? So the people who are supporting from database perspective, so there is a production support BA, he is not given access to the actual UI, and he is looking at the backend tables. Then he will not be able to figure out what the people names are, right? So that's one way of handling the data protection, which is encryption. Another way of handling the data, which I am aware of, is obfuscation. So Amit mentioned XXX, right? So you'll see when you open up the application, you will not see Shipra, you will just say XXXXX. So that it could be X, it could be asterisk, it could be hyphen or whatever, right? So you set up one character, and it will be masked basically, right? So you will not see what is written here. Some value is in there, but you will not be able to see it. So usually what happens is, like, in life, there is no obfuscation, you can see the data, but in UAT, in QC, you will not be able to see the live data, or in support environments. So the data is moved over into the database tables, but when the support BA is looking it in the front end, they will just see a couple of X's there. So that is obfuscating the data, or hiding the data, or masking the data. Yeah. So that's the two ways generally data protection is implemented. I just thought of sharing it with you all.
Thank you, Shipra. Quite useful.
Yeah.
Very useful. Thank you.
Um,
And I have updated my latest picture now. You can see me now after 20 years.
Ampla, would you like to add further?